Stephanie Dobson is back with us again this week for another segment of Healthy, Thriving Family After Divorce. And Stephanie, we have started a series basically talking about focusing on going through separation and divorce over the holiday season. And today we want to talk about the first Christmas after separation and divorce. You have some tips. We're going to start with the first one, which is to create new traditions or maintain some of the old ones. Tell me about that and ways people can go about that.
Sure. Thanks, Stacey. So, first, when we think about the holidays being separated, is of course the first thing that people were going to be creating is a holiday parenting schedule. So you'll start to know, it's December 1st already. Can't even believe it. Parents will have already probably started to look at what that parenting schedule is going to look like. So as you're doing that, you may want to consider if there's some old traditions that your family may want to keep alive. And so it's not always that separated families have to be keeping the holidays separate and doing things separately. You can actually keep some things alive. You may want to think of things that might be particularly special for the kids. And if they've had a hard year with the first year of the split, you might think of even things like December 24th, putting out your treats for Santa, or waking up and having Christmas morning together with the presents, sharing the opening of the presents. Now, of course, you're going to have to determine if there's too much parental conflict. Obviously, you're going to want to do something to keep the conflict level low. So if you can't do that, you might want to look at thinking about new traditions. And it doesn't have to necessarily be tied to a particular day. So if you have the kids on the 26th instead of the 25th, maybe you create your new traditions with the kids on that particular day.
All right, and Stephanie, tip number 2 you have for today is to surround yourself with loved ones for as many of the celebrations as possible. Why is that important?
Well, it can be very lonely during the holidays. If your parenting schedule causes you to not necessarily have the kids on days that are special to you, it can be really difficult. So, if you, for example, agree that December 24th to the 26th, this year will be with the other parent and next year will be with you. Next year it will be wonderful. You'll have those 3 days together with the kids, but this year it might be a little bit lonely. And so it's really important that you try to come up with ways that you can spend time with those who love you, whether it's family or friends, so that when you're emotionally drained, you really have people to uplift you.
The next tip you have, Stephanie, is to create realistic expectations. Why is it important to do that instead of maybe some, pie in the sky ideas where you've got a big holiday or vacation, event planned every year? Why is it important to keep it really realistic?
Well, even if you follow tip number 1, which is to create new traditions, that might be exciting. And then tip number 2, which is, planning to surround yourself with people you love, there may still be some moments that are kind of out of kilter, I'd say, for you and for your children even. So the best thing that you can do is to manage those expectations for that first holiday season, and recognize going into this that there's going to be some moments that are really high emotion. So it could be anger or sadness or denial or any other forms of grief that really just, if you can embrace it in the moment and know that moment will pass, and then you can get on with spending it with the family members and the friends that you really love. That really helps with those heightened emotions.
Well, Stephanie, we're going to continue this series in the coming weeks. So can you let our viewers know what some of the topics are going to be for the next couple of weeks before we get into the actual week of Christmas?
Sure. So next week, we'll be looking at guidance for families who have already been split for a while. So you've probably spent your first or subsequent Christmases in separate homes. And so you've had some successes and some challenges. So we're going to look at some tips for those families. And then in our final week before Christmas, we're going to look at some holiday considerations for blended families. So as always, don't forget the past episodes are all on YouTube. So last week's, we also had some tips for holidays for families, and you can go onto our website, henkadivorce.ca, and go under the media tab.
All right, Stephanie, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back to chat again next week.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey.